How do you feel that 40% of Canadians are relying on their tax refunds to survive?
I'm not surprised. I was also relying on that this year.
How can anyone afford an apartment if it's $5,000 a month?
Canadian men are quietly breaking, and most of you are doing it in complete silence.
Look, I think if you talk to anyone outside of the elite Ottawa bubble, they'll tell you that life is still unaffordable, right?
How has inflation affected you and your family?
It's made it a lot harder because now you're giving up much more of your monthly income to pay for the same home that you've already owned for years.
People are losing weight because they can't afford to eat. Not because they're dieting, not because they're trying to lose weight, but because they can't afford groceries.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Canadian Rant. I've got a real question today. Canadians, how are you all actually living right now? Because nothing makes sense anymore. You walk into a grocery store, spend $200, and somehow come home with barely anything. You look at daycare costs, and it's higher than what some people used to pay for rent. Gas prices? Every time you fill up, it feels like a hit to your wallet. And that's just the basics. We're not even talking about luxury. We're not talking about vacations or big purchases. We're talking about surviving everyday life. So it raises a serious question. How much do you actually need to make to live comfortably in Canada in 2026? Because for a lot of people, it feels like no matter how much you earn, it's never enough. Today we're going to talk about the real cost of living, what comfortable even means anymore, and why so many Canadians feel like they're constantly playing catch up. Let's get into it.
People are losing weight because they can't afford to eat. Not because they're dieting, not because they're trying to lose weight, but because they can't afford groceries. And somehow we're being told, just budget better. But that's impossible. This is not normal.
How has inflation affected you and your family?
My parents own a house in White Rock, and I can tell firsthand that because of the rising cost of our home, even though our home is now worth more, my parents are also paying a lot more in property tax. And with the mortgage rates and the percentages going up significantly, it's made it a lot harder because now you're giving up much more of your monthly income to pay for the same home that you've already owned for years, which is making it a lot harder to save for anything else other than your mortgage.
You think inflation is a long-term problem?
I think inflation is a long-term problem until it crashes. The market is bound to crash at some point. We're looking back at the 2008 market crash. I honestly think we're headed in that direction. I just don't know when it's going to happen. But how high prices are, I wouldn't be surprised if that's in our future.
In the last 8 years, prices have tripled. So you think in another 3 years perspective, they will triple again?
It's very possible. Because we keep saying, oh, you know, the end is near, like the market's going to crash, everything's going to reset. But here we are, after the pandemic, prices are still going up and not a lot has changed.
What should we do?
Oh my God, other than move away?
So I was walking down the alleyway that I often walk down to get to this park, and there's someone constructing something, and I asked them, what are you building? And they said, oh, we're building a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment here. And I was like, oh, cool, how much is the rent? Oh, $5,000. $5,000, I said, $5,000. You know, I was a person in their 40s who climbed the career ladder and finally made a take-home of about $5,000. It took me over 20 years working to get to a take-home of $5,000. And so even if I had a person to rent this place with, so if we were a family, we would need let's see, $200,000 a month income to have a take home where $5,000 is only half of that. Do you know that the average annual income in Canada is $54,000? The take home for that is about $3,000, just over $3,000. I know that because that's what I worked for a significant portion of my career. And now I've been laid off. And the most I can get from EI is about $2,500 a month. How can anyone afford an apartment if it's $5,000 a month? A regular 2-bedroom apartment goes for about $3,500 a month. That would be my entire income, more than my entire income, if I was back in a $50,000 a year job. I wake up with panic attacks
Tax refunds is something that, it's always nice to have, but you should not be needing that to survive.
How do you feel that 40% of Canadians are relying on their tax refunds to survive?
I'm not surprised. I was also relying on that this year, but unfortunately, I will not be getting a tax refund. I guess I owe more than I thought that I owed.
It's tough. Affordability is a big issue in here. So people need to learn how to use their money in a more smart way.
It's unfortunate, really. Like, they should be just living off of their wages and not relying on refunds.
If people are having that issue with living and not be able to have enough in their pocket, I have to wait for tax refunds. There's a structural problem, so hopefully something gets done there.
It helps extend the reach of the spending, but then again, it's something that you shouldn't be relying on.
Tell me why every time you go outside, you spend $100. Not even $100. I just came in right now. I was outside for an hour and a half and my wallet is $200 lighter. Don't ask me to go out no more. I'm not coming. You want to see me? You can catch me chilling in my house with my money.
Got a letter in the mail. My rent is being increased. Look at my room. This is my room. I have a bed and a desk. This is the tiniest room I've ever lived in my life. There ain't nothing here. Dude, I used to own a home. My entire home, my brick house, was $1,200 mortgage a month. I don't know, 8 years ago. I used to live across the street, and a 3-bedroom apartment was $700 a month. I don't even know what to do. I'm just upset that I got a letter in the mail that my rent's going up again for no reason. And this is my fucking bedroom. It's cute though. It's cute. I make it cute. So anyway, fuck you. Hey landlords, fucking, I can't say it on Instagram.
Wow, look at how much dollars I could put into my car now. Check this out. That's how many dollars went into my car. I'm not talking about liters of gas because I'm talking dollars. Gas prices are crazy.
Dinner in the little food section of Farm Boy, and this man's trying to exit through the door, and he was stealing groceries. He was shopping groceries, and the employees intercepted him, and all the things he was trying to steal fell to the ground. And do you want to know what he was trying to steal? Fresh chicken, salmon, fresh vegetables. I don't know if this guy's on a cut or something, but it's made me think, if someone's trying to steal fresh vegetables and fresh meat, let them. Employees picked it all back up, and I'm like, this has touched the ground now. They're not going to put it back on the shelves, right? Just let him take it. What the fuck?
Nobody wants to say this out loud, so I will. Canadian men are quietly breaking, and most of you are doing it in complete silence. Like, you're working overtime, you're paying the mortgage, you're showing up to hockey practice, you're fixing the leaking faucet at midnight, and, on paper you look fine, but inside you're exhausted. You're scared, and you're wondering how the hell this became your life. Like, housing eats half, sometimes 3/4 of your income. Groceries feel like a luxury purchase. Mortgage renewals are doubling payments. Car repairs hit, and suddenly the credit card is back up again, and nobody knows because you don't talk about it. You internalize it because men are wired to think, if the numbers don't work, it must be our fault. If we can't provide the way our fathers did, we must be failing. But here's the truth, okay? This is not a character flaw. It's pressure, and pressure doesn't care how strong you are. I've had men message me saying they feel stripped of purpose, that no matter how much overtime they put in, it's never enough, that they're robbing Peter to pay Paul just to survive another month, that 5 years ago they were stable and now they're drowning. And the worst part, they feel ashamed for even admitting it, because you're supposed to be grateful, you're supposed to be resilient, you're supposed to be, just grinding harder. But grinding harder in a system that's squeezing you isn't a strategy. It's a slow burn, right? Financial stress is now one of the leading drivers of anxiety and burnout in Canada. Household debt is the highest in the G7, and men, we're the least likely to talk about it until it explodes. So what happens? We bottle it up, we snap at our kids, we withdraw from our partners, we start believing we're the problem, and that's the lie. The problem isn't that you're weak. The problem is that a single income, even a decent dual income, isn't enough anymore. So here's the uncomfortable shift. You can't cut your way out of this, okay? You can't coupon your way into stability. You can't skip vacations for 10 years and call that a plan. Stability today requires leverage. It requires income that isn't tied to someone else's payroll. It requires something you control. Now, I'm not talking about quitting your job, okay? I'm not talking about pipe dreams and Lamborghinis. I'm talking about building a second stream, something that brings in, $2,000, and then maybe $3,000 a month, enough to breathe, enough to fix the furnace without panicking, enough to say yes when your kid needs something, enough to stop feeling like you're one emergency away from collapse. That's phase 1, okay? Stability. Phase 2 is comfort. Phase 3, if you want it, is freedom. But it starts with room to breathe, okay? And if you're watching this thinking, this guy is describing my life, well, then good. That means you're not alone. And it means there's another way. Like, I put together a completely free mini course that walks through the first steps I took to build income online with no hype and, without nonsense, right? No pressure, no promises of overnight success, just leverage. Because men shouldn't have to break in silence just to survive. So if this hit home, the link's in my bio. Just start there. You deserve more than just surviving your own life.
The Canadian dream is to work hard, save up enough money and invest so that you can leave this place behind. That means not having children, not buying a home, not getting too invested in this place politically, because our ultimate goal as Canadians is to be like the top 1% of Canadians, the most educated, the most money-making, hard-working Canadians are up and leaving. We must follow suit. It's our only hope because the Canadian dream is abroad.
Look, I think if you talk to anyone outside of the elite Ottawa bubble, they'll tell you that life is still unaffordable, right? We've been going through this, for 3-4 years, and it's still life is so expensive here. And we can get into some of the reasons why, but I think one of the main drivers of this is government, right? The cost of living is so high because the cost of government is so high. And there's 3 different ways essentially that government in Canada is driving up the cost of living. I mean, number 1, just how much money they're taking from people's pockets, right? The fastest, the simplest, the easiest way for government to make life more affordable is just to stop taking so much money in the first place. Then you have inflationary taxes, where the feature of the tax, not the bug, is to make life more expensive, right? Think carbon taxes, think alcohol taxes, things of that nature. And then finally, which we saw during the heart of the pandemic, is a way that government finances its spending, its borrowing. And that's the inflation tax. And we saw that during the heart of the pandemic, where the central bank printed up hundreds of billions of dollars out of thin air, largely to finance Ottawa's massive deficits. And, the more dollars that the central bank prints, the less that your dollars buy. But those are the 3 ways that government really drives inflation.
Hey guys, we just need to have a quick little chat here. So for anybody, honestly, this video can kind of be for everyone, but mostly Canadians, just the cost of living and the cost of just everything in Canada right now is so disgusting. Specifically, I am from Ontario, and it's just gotten to the point where it's just how are people doing it? How are you living? Because my family, there's 4 of us, and we have a dog, and we cannot live. It is insane. No matter what we do, no matter what we try to cut down on, it is just horrible. Okay. And I am not a huge, let's get into politics kind of person, but the only thing I can relay it back to is whoever's in our government right now, what the are we doing? What are we doing? Okay, because it's not funny anymore. People are losing their houses. People are not being able to drive their cars. People are not being able to afford to feed their children, schooling for their children, anything. Don't even get me started about anything extra. Okay, nobody can do anything extra. You know what? I kind of look back, and yes, these are very minimal things, and I shouldn't really care, and I don't, but I used to get my lashes done every 2 weeks. I used to get my hair done. I used to get my nails done. I used to like go do things that made me feel like, hey, even though I'm working my ass off, I am still being able to, you know, enjoy the little things that like make me feel good. Like they make me, nope, gone, out the window. Can't do any of those things anymore. It's disgusting. It's so horrible. And is anybody out there buying a house? Does anybody have money to buy a house? Because we went in with a fairly decent down payment, turned away, can't do it because of the fact that the housing market now is just, it's so insane. It's insanity. So anyway, that was my little vent for today. But if you guys are from Canada, you have need to, groceries. Don't even get me started on the groceries. Like one bag of groceries over $100. Like it's insane. How are you living? Anyway, that's my vent.
Things that are somehow normal but feel illegal in Canada. Paying $8 for a tub of butter. Going to Costco, spending $300 and still needing groceries. Tax season? That's emotional damage right there. And daycare? It's better if you take a mortgage and pay for it. At this point, you don't need a budget. You need a side hustle and a therapist.
Be honest. How much do you think you need to make to live comfortably in Calgary? Because I ran the numbers, and the numbers add up to $3,500 a month approximately, which means you'd have to make $5,000 after tax. That adds up to around $75,000 to $85,000 a year, and that's without a car. If you get a car, then you can easily add $600 to $800 a month. Calgary is affordable, but not cheap.
When you break it all down, the biggest frustration people are feeling in Canada right now isn't just about prices being high, it's about the gap between income and reality. Because comfortable living used to mean something simple. You could pay your rent, buy groceries without stress, cover your bills, maybe save a little. Nothing extravagant, just stability. But now, that definition feels like it's shifting. Groceries costing hundreds every week, daycare taking up a huge portion of income, fuel, utilities, rent, all climbing at the same time. And suddenly, even people with decent incomes are asking themselves, why does this still feel so tight? That's the part that's changing the conversation across the country, because it's no longer just one group struggling. It's students, young professionals, families, even people who once felt financially secure. And when a large number of people start feeling that same pressure, it stops being an individual issue. It becomes a national reality. The question isn't just things are expensive. The real question is the cost of living rising faster than people can realistically keep up with? And if the answer is yes, then something bigger needs attention. Because affordability isn't just about numbers. It's about whether people can build a life without constant financial stress. It's about whether working full-time actually leads to stability. And it's about whether the future feels possible or uncertain. Now I want to hear from you. How much do you think someone actually needs to earn to live comfortably in Canada today? Be honest. Drop your number in the comments. I think a lot of people are wondering the same thing. If this video felt real to you, hit like so more Canadians see it. And if you want more honest conversations about the cost of living and everyday struggles in Canada, make sure to subscribe to Canadian Rant. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.